Thank you, Dr. Wynn. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very nice to see you, even on the screen. It's really nice.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope to have a funny discussion, fruitful discussion with you.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah, we're gonna have the audience to figure out some of the key points to understand the reason why strategy is different in different countries. Are you okay?
Good. Yeah, we'll start streaming from now on. So I will send the link to the chat.
Thank you very much. I hope to have a funny discussion. Okay. So we copy and paste this link, and everybody can see it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Let me see. And I have never tried to do from YouTube. So let's see. Dr. Wynn, do you know how effectively it is to do on YouTube?
Well, I can share with you more if you are interested in. By the way, I'm a YouTuber. So if you're interested, we can talk about more social media and how to influence. I'm not influence, but what's the way to send the message to the audience. So
yeah,
we can talk about that.
Okay. Thank you very much. So Ang, are you? We are ready with the technical issues. Shall we start? I think.
Yes, for me.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Ang ơi.
Yes. Maybe Dr. Ohmagari is on the phone.
I see. I see.
Share this last clip on the to introduce.
Yes, please.
Okay. Welcome to VANJ 2020 conference, a special session on public health. Representatives from the National Center for Global Health and Medicine in Japan, National Alarm Hospital in Vietnam, California Northstate University in the US, WHO in Vietnam, University of Medicine and Pharmacy in the Ho Chi Minh City of Vietnam, and Kyoto Miniran Central Hospital in Japan. Our topic is sustainable and effective public health strategies to cope with COVID-19 and the new normal. In this session, medical doctors and health experts from Japan, Vietnam, and USA will update and share our experience on COVID-19 prevention and treatment and the way for better preparedness and response to COVID-19 in a new normal context. Join us and contribute together to a healthy life in the new normal era. everybody here can be ready. So I would like to introduce Dr. Phạm Nguyễn Thúy to be the co-chair this meeting.
Thank you very much. Dr. Nhung, could you please start the meeting?
Yes. So let us start. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us in this session, the public health in the new normal of the COVID-19. I think this is the topic very important for everyone from of us. Today on speaker, I'm Dr. Nhung, National Lung Hospital Director and also President of the Vietnam Lung Association with the stand name is the Villa like the Villa, yeah. Chair and co-chair with Dr. Quý. Is our colleague, is very famous in our network in Vietnam. And thank you, Dr. Quý, very much for giving us the opportunity to connecting with this session. So please, you can give opening remark of our session, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nhung. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining this virtual meeting of VANJ Conference 2020, this special session on public health, sustainable and effective strategy to cope with COVID-19 in the new normal. I'm a medical doctor in Kyoto, Mainland Central Hospital and Kyoto University, and it's my pleasure for me to collaborate with Associate Professor Nhung to chair this session. As you know, Dr. Nhung is the director of the National Lung Hospital and has led many activities to suppress infectious disease, especially tuberculosis in Vietnam. Regarding COVID-19, all of us already know that it is an uneven pandemic. All countries have been affected, but not all have affected equally. It's reported that almost half of all the cases and deaths are in just 4 or 5 countries, and 70% of cases and deaths are localized in the top 10 countries. Although some countries, like in the US, they're still in the middle of the war with this coronavirus. There's many countries have shown that COVID-19 can be controlled with existing tools. Each country may have different strategy to cope with COVID-19, but what would be the common point in terms of public health? And does COVID-19 always link to negative effect to the healthcare system? It is our pleasure to have distinguished experts from Japan, Vietnam, and the US joining the conference today to share knowledge and experience about this topic. And I hope that via active discussion about dynamic changes in policy in each country, we can figure out the common keywords to overcome or to live with COVID-19. Each speaker will have about 15 to 20 minutes for presentation, plus 5 to 10 minutes for discussion with the audience. It's my pleasure to introduce the first presenter today, Dr. Norio Ohmagari, Director of Disease Control and Prevention Center, National Center for Global Health and Medicine in Japan. His talk is entitled Response to COVID-19 in Japan.
Dr. Quý, thank you. Oh, sorry for that. Dr. Quý, thank you for your kind introduction. Thank you so much. And I'd like to thanks to all the people who are associated with this VANJ2020 for inviting me. And thank you so much. So anyway, let me start my presentation. Okay. So then let's see. Okay, so it's coming. So am I sharing my presentation window?
Yes, very clearly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so let me go ahead. Excuse me. Let's see. Let me just keep my time. Alrighty. Okay. So again, my name is Norio Ohmagari, working at National Center for Global Health and Medicine, which is located in Shinjuku, Tokyo, Japan. And this is one of the national center, and we one of the strong points of this NCGM is clinical management of infectious diseases. So for that reason, I've been involved in the clinical management of COVID-19 and also research and development activity against COVID-19. So today, I'd like to take this opportunity to explain what is the response to COVID-19 here in Japan. So let me start with this picture. This is a picture taken in January, in the end of January. At that time, what happened is there was an outbreak of COVID-19 in Wuhan, China. And there was a lot of people associated with Japan living in India. So the government of Japan sent a special airplane for the evacuation of those evacuees from the Wuhan for 6 times. So this is actually first flight from the Wuhan to Haneda International Airport. And we, the people at NCGM, has accommodated all the passengers coming back from Wuhan. And we did a screening for COVID-19, including meticulous history taking and also PCR testing. And actually, I believe 1.7% of the passengers came back from the from the Wuhan was positive for COVID-19, including the more than a couple of asymptomatic patients. So this is the very first exposure from us, Japanese doctors, to the COVID-19. And the next wave came to early in February. That was the, so to speak, Diamond Princess. This is a very big cruise ship, and 1,000 of people were having travel on board on this Diamond Princess. And there was a cluster, very large cluster of COVID-19 within this Diamond Princess, which created more than 700 PCR positive cases of COVID-19. And we, the healthcare personnel in Tokyo and the Tokyo metropolitan area, and also other block part of Japan, had to accommodate all the patients who are positive for COVID-19. And honestly speaking, that was a quite very hard time for us, for the healthcare personnel in Japan. That was like, response to disaster, like a very big earthquake. It took 1 month for us to, go through all of the this process to cope with what happened in COVID-19, what happened in the Diamond Princess. But anyway, we've gone through that. Although it was a very hard time for us, however, we had a bunch of experience through taking care of the patients who were coming down to on the ground from the Diamond Princess. So afterwards, on the March, in the last half of March, the first big wave of COVID-19 started in Japan. And now we are in the middle of the beginning. I hope, it's not the beginning, but we are in the third wave of the COVID-19 here in Japan. So let me start what the characteristics of the cases of COVID-19 here in Japan. To do that, we are utilizing this registry, the COVID-19 registry. This is the database for all the inpatients, almost all the inpatients of COVID-19 here in Japan. Although doctors are quite busy, however, they are taking their precious time to input those patient data into our electronic database to create this platform, the registry. So this is a precious database. So I'd like to introduce some of the results of the epidemiological study through this registry. So this is the comorbidity and the severity of the association of the comorbidities and the severity of the COVID-19. From the left side, I'm showing all the personnel, patients who needed no oxygen and who needed oxygen, their intubation. And in the left side column, I'm showing the major comorbidity that is associated with the severity of COVID-19. And what happened to see was, to be seen was those comorbidity, especially the obesity, like a diabetes, which are quite notorious for the very strong risk factor for severe COVID-19. In terms of the prevalence in Japan, that was quite low compared to the number of the UK and the US. So it said that in general, the mortality of the patients is COVID-19 here in Japan is lower to those number in the country from Europe and northern and the southern part of America. And we made a hypothesis that that might be at least partly explained by this low incidence of obesity and diabetes, low prevalence of obesity and diabetes in the population in Japan. This is the actual picture of my patient, my sickest patient, who is a 63 years old male who came from Japan, from US by a Diamond Princess, who developed very bad pneumonia by COVID-19, which necessitated intensive care. On the day 7 from the onset of the symptoms, he needed, mechanical ventilation. But as we couldn't keep on his respiratory status even on the mechanical ventilation, we utilized ECMO, extracorporeal membranous oxygenation, to save him. Actually, it took 1 month to wean the ventilator off from this patient. But anyway, we weaned off him from the ventilator. And actually, it took 2 months for him for the rehab, because after 1 month of the mechanical ventilation, his muscle was quite weak, which necessitated long-time rehabilitation. However, finally, he went back home. So this is the, although the fraction of these sickest patients is quite small, however, it does happen. So now we know that most of the patients, almost 80%, more than 80% of the patients with COVID-19 is almost asymptomatic or having quite mild symptoms like a common cold. However, like 2 or 3% of the patients will develop quite severe COVID-19, which necessitates this kind of quite invasive treatment. So this is a quite notorious and a quite characteristic part of the COVID-19, which we have to keep in our mind. Well, another issue is, so to speak, long COVID, long-time consequence of COVID-19, which was started to be reported in Italy and in the country of in the Europe. But now, although the size is small, a couple of studies in Japan had shown that we in Japan also had a similar problem. We NCGM have a very common, a small cohort of the patients whom we are following at the outpatient. So we followed the 63 patients on the outpatient clinic of NCGM, and we found that the incidence of a cough and dysuria, dysomnia, dyspnea, fatigue, and sputum is quite high, and it lasted more than 100 days. So it is apparent that the patients who had COVID-19, although may have quite a mild symptom, but they develop this kind of long-term consequence, so to speak, long COVID. Although we don't know for sure what is the magnitude of the issue of COVID, long COVID, however, it might be very big. The other thing is we don't know the detail of long COVID. For example, I had one patient who developed the aortitis, inflammation of the aorta, abdominal aorta, which resolved within a week. Which is, I don't know why it happened. The overinflammation that was provoked by the infection by SARS-CoV-2 itself may cause this kind of the overinflammation in the aorta, but we don't know for sure what is the mechanism behind that. To know that, we have to keep going on doing this kind of the epidemiological study to find out what is the incidence, prevalence, and also mechanisms of behind the COVID-19. Long COVID, I'm sorry. Okay. So this is another data from our small cohort. We found that almost 20% of the patients of the COVID-19 eventually develop alopecia, hair loss. It is quite surprising. This is another data from our COVID registry. So basically, this is what kind of the waves we have experienced in the last 10 months. On the left side, we see the peak. This is the first wave in Japan. And on the right side, we see the second wave in Japan. The pink bar shows the severe case. And obviously, it seems that on the second wave, compared to the first wave, we have experienced a smaller number of the severe cases of COVID-19 here in Japan. And I believe that this kind of a phenomenon, trend to weaker diseases, milder diseases, has been seen in other parts of the world as well. And what we have noticed is the time from the onset of the symptom to diagnosis or admission has decreased significantly. In the first wave, it took 7 days for the patient to be admitted after the onset of the symptom. But now in the second wave, it took 4 days for the patient to be admitted to the hospital or after the onset of the symptoms. So shorter, time from the onset of the symptom to admission may, improve the outcome of the patients with COVID-19. And what we have witnessed through this COVID regi is the, improvement in the severity of the patient with COVID-19 between the first wave and second wave. So the left side is the first wave. Oh, let me just, okay. Okay, so let's start with the first wave, and the right side of the second wave. And I'm sorry, somewhere in Japanese, but we stratified the data into the age classification. So let's see the patient at the age of 70 or older. So the percentage of a severe case was 48.4% in the first wave. However, it decreased to 30.6% in the second wave. So the severity seems to be milder compared to the first wave in the second wave. And which is also true in the mortality of the patient. On the left-hand side, we see the first wave. On the right-hand side, we see the second wave. And we are just seeing the patients with severe diseases. And we stratified the data into the age classification. So talking about the age of the 50s to 69, the mortality decreased from 10.9% to 1.4%. This is quite surprising. And on the column of 70s or older, the mortality decreased from 31.2% to 20.8%, which is also decreased. So we don't know for sure what caused this decreased mortality in the patient, but improved medical care or the improved access to the test for the COVID-19, or could be the change in the virus, mutation of the virus may explain for that. We don't know for what is the exact reason for it, but anyway, the mortality is decreasing in number, even though we have stratified the data by age group. Talking about treatment, we are thinking about 3 aspects of treatment. First one is antivirals, the treatment for virus. Well, by suppressing the growth of the virus, we can treat the patient. I mean, we can heal the patient earlier, and we can probably prevent the exaggeration and exacerbation of a patient with COVID-19. But in some cases, probably they have a very big number of the virus in the body, which cause the dysfunction of the immune system, which cause hyperinflammation. So to treat that, we need anti-inflammatory treatment. And also, the patient with COVID-19 has some sort of the coagulation problem. We don't know for sure the mechanism for it, but for that, we are using the anti-coagulation treatment like a heparin. So talking about antivirals, now we have remdesivir, which has shown the decreased duration of the recovery compared to the placebo for 5 days. Although WHO is not recommending to use remdesivir, but I can understand why they say, the WHO say, because remdesivir is an injectional drug and it's quite expensive. So this drug has a potential issue of access to every part of the world, which is quite big actually from the viewpoint of the WHO. I can understand it. Otherwise, some blood products like a convalescent plasma and antibodies are quite promising, especially for the mild patients with high risk of getting severe progressing to severe COVID-19. Talking about anti-inflammatory drug, dexamethasone is quite famous. That is shown the effectiveness by the study by UK, but otherwise, as the dexamethasone causes very high blood glucose or some other complications, the companies and the governments and academia are trying to do some sort of investigation to find out what is more good, more safer anti-inflammatory drugs. So these are the landscape of the treatment for COVID-19. But now somehow in the very beginning, honestly speaking, we didn't know for sure what we can do. But after 10 months, we have somehow, we know the way to go. I mean, in terms of the treatment, which is very good. Alrighty. And there are some promising data coming from Japan. I can introduce you. One is the FIT-SAT is the marker to predict that the patient will become severe or not. So this is one study from a young colleague at NCGM, and he's a nephrologist, and he was deeply involved in the blood perfusion therapy, blood purification therapy. And he found that the patient who developed severe COVID-19 had very high FABP and beta microglobulin in the urine, which is quite simple test, but this data is quite strong. So by utilizing this two kind of biomarker in the urine, we may be able to predict who's going to be the severe COVID-19, and we might be able to treat those patients like a preemptive manner. I mean, even before they develop the severe COVID-19. There are the other biomarkers like a CCL17, and if the patient has very low CCL17 in the very beginning, they are at high risk for developing quite severe COVID-19. And if talking about this interferon, actually this is lambda-3, in the clinical course of COVID-19, the interferon lambda-3 will get higher before the exacerbation of COVID-19. So this is a CCL interferon gamma-3 may predict the who gonna really will get to who is really getting worse in a short period. So by utilizing this kind of biomarker, we can predict who's going to be what, who's going to be severe COVID-19, which may be able to for us to do preemptive treatment to prevent the severe COVID-19. So this is my actual last slide. And this is the number of the patients which we took care of in NCGM. In the first wave, we had a very hard time. We had admitted 47 patients at the time in the peak of the incidence of COVID-19. And at that point, we have intubated 8 patients in a hospital. Which was a quite severe stormy time for us and also the healthcare workers in Tokyo, but we somehow gone through it. On the second wave, the singles were better. We had less number of the patients and much less number of severe patients with severe COVID-19. Now we are in the middle of third wave, and honestly speaking, we don't know for sure what happens, but I personally expect that probably we have more number, the larger number of severe cases in the third wave compared to the at least second wave, or could be a similar number of severe patients compared to the first wave in the third wave. But by decreasing the incidence of new cases of COVID-19, we can decrease the incidence of severe cases. That helps the function of healthcare facility. So we hope to do the situation will be like that. Okay. So thank you very much for taking your time to listen to my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ohmagari, for your comprehensive review about the burden of COVID-19 in Japan and significant changes in diagnosis and treatment in a very specific timeline during the first and the second wave in Japan. You also cover many aspects of COVID-19 from basic science to clinical application, and I hope the audience can follow and recognize that the Japanese scientists and doctors are very active to try to figure out the biomarker for predicting severe case for effective intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Could you please turn off the slide
Sure,
so we
sure.
can have a discussion from the group? I would like to receive some question or comment for Dr. Ohmagari's presentation. And in the meantime, my colleague, Dr. Đỗ Đăng An, please pick up some comment on the Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, or YouTube, yes. We hope that we have more interaction with the
I see. That's good.
Yeah.
40.
Let me go to Facebook.
So I have a question concerning the severity of infection.
Okay.
I'm really surprised that the second wave, patient during the second wave have a better prognosis. Yeah, and I read some textbook, and it's usually say that during the pandemic, the later stage have a better prognosis. And do you think this is a common feature for other viral infection?
Well, actually, honestly speaking, this is my first time for me to take care of, to experience this kind of the very, so to speak, pandemic. But we are now witnessing that what is written in the paper, in the journal and also textbook. It appears for us that definitely the outcome of the patient is improving, and which is probably because of the improved medical care, or probably improved explained by the earlier treatment. However, we don't know for sure. It's the interaction between virus and the immune system of us might be playing a major role. But I'm not basic scientist, so someone among this audience will look into that. I hope that.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Ang, do you receive any question from the audience?
It's not yet.
I see.
I would like to have some comment.
Can you turn on the video?
It is excellent presentation to get experience on the majority in the clinical management. But my question belong to the screening before hospital. I have heard that you apply some tests. There is like a rapid test at the airport.
Okay.
Also recognize the protein. So how about this useful for screening and sensitivity and specificity?
Thank you, Dr. Nhung. A very nice question. And we have been struggling with that, honestly speaking. Well, talking about the symptomatic patients for COVID-19 who, talking about the patient with COVID-19, I think that, antigen test, rapid antigen test is quite useful. Although they are not so sensitive compared to the PCR testing, but it appears that this antigen testing will pick up the patient who have COVID-19, who may transmit diseases, who are in the phase of transmitting this virus to other people. So in the case of the symptomatic cases, I think it's quite useful because the other point is because it doesn't take time for for us to do this test, just 30 minutes or less.
Yes, it's good. We also wish to have this in our country.
I see. But one thing is we have experienced is it appears that maybe some percent, although it might be through very small fraction of the patients, but we have experienced some false positive cases, which caused some sort of the confliction, on the ground. But they may resolve it, I believe.
Vietnam also experienced on the 2 cases phone positive. That we informed the positive, but actually it's negative.
I see.
But
I see.
That is alarming to the system. That is good. We have a positive point of view to take about this. The screening, the majority is sensitivity. Specificity might be lower.
Right.
But we screen to catch all the cases. That is important for public health. Very good.
Thank you. I agree.
I don't see any question on the chat book. So maybe we can continue and then we can go back.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, Dr. Ohmagari, I have one question.
Sure, please.
Maybe not related to your lecture, but I think because your hospital is one of the major, very big hospital in Japan, but I'm in a local hospital, and we often deal with the problem of moving the patient or transfer them from the central hospital to the local one.
I see.
So yeah, it's kind of a traffic jam in the COVID-19, and I want to know more about kind of strategy to stratify and to share the hospital care or maybe elderly care in Japan.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kui. The similar situations, phenomenon is happening all over Japan. The big hospital has been struggling with transfer of the patients with the other hospital. And one thing is the talking about middle-sized, small-sized hospital. Basically the healthcare workers does not have enough big experience of taking care of the patient with COVID-19. So as they don't have a big experience, they are quite feared about it. I mean, as they don't know the detail about the COVID-19, they are just feared. But it's quite understandable. So that is a quite natural phenomenon for us to see what is the unknown, phenomenon. So probably we have to talk together to know about the COVID-19 itself, the clinical pictures, what is the infection prevention control practices. And the other thing is, I've heard more than a couple of opinions that although the government said that after 10 days from the onset of the symptoms, the patient does not have infectivity to other people. However, is that true? That is the question.
Yeah,
it's quite understandable.
Maybe some rare case is picked up on the mass media, and that everybody worries about that.
Yeah, they know that. So probably when we transfer the patient to other hospital, the other hospital we need some sort of the infection prevention control, for their, for their safety and for their, to keep their, heart calm, So probably introducing very lighter way of, infection prevention control, very simple PPE into the hospital to be transferred will need it. But to do that, probably we have to talk together and what kind of infection prevention control too in the second hospital. Because in the second hospital, they just don't know what they can do in terms of infection prevention control when they accommodate those patients from the bigger hospital. So probably we need a talk, we need a discussion. And in the other parts of the world, in Japan, they are doing the similar things. But finally, they have resolved this kind of issues. So yeah, I hope that everybody will talk about it. That can resolve the issue. Yeah.
Actually, my major is related to oncology.
Oh, so, you are? Okay.
I always deal with many patients worries about fever when they have a raise in body temperature. It is COVID-19, and do we need to screen them or not? And so my concern is, do the screening or precaution for COVID-19 may delay the normal treatment or normal care
I see.
the other patients.
I think you raised a very important point in terms of the care of the patients with non-COVID. I mean, in Japan and also in any other part of the world, because of COVID-19, in general, medical care has been, how can I say, had some sort of the limitation, because of COVID-19, like a screening you mentioned. So I do understand in that kind of situation. And actually, I was working in a cancer hospital previously.
Oh yes.
I do know the situation, so I do think I do understand what is the situation. So
yes.
Yeah.
So I met some of my patients who really need to delay the operation because of just because of fever, and they want to rule out COVID and wait for another 2 weeks before everything come clearer.
I see.
So in some situations, the benefit of the patient is balanced to the benefit of the the group or the public.
I see.
And this never happened before.
Right. Well, in the very beginning, we had quite same thing in the hospital. But what resolved this issue is the introduction of new testing, like a PCR testing or rapid testing for that. In the very beginning, it took time for us from the submission of the specimen to the lab up until we obtained the result of it, like 4 days or 5 days. But now it takes maybe 30 minutes or less, maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour. That may shorten the time for us to make a decision. Yeah.
Great. So innovation actually have to solve the problem.
Yeah, I do. This time, I do think that going through this all COVID-19, now I do think that the innovation is quite important to make the situation change. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're just talking about how to manage the hospital during the pandemic related to COVID-19.
We have from in the Q&A, we said that what's the challenge that to vaccinate vaccine in Japan? What Japan
Thank you so much. Vaccine. Okay. So one thing is we don't know for sure we have enough number of vaccine. That is the first barrier. And the second barrier is the people in Japan has phobia about vaccination, because in our country in the last 2 to 3 decades there were at least 2 or 3 major incidents. I mean major accidents.
Misunderstood.
Right. Misunderstood the effectiveness, and they have a belief that the vaccination is harmful for the health, and those kind of beliefs quite strong in our country. And it appears that the new vaccine, like from big pharma, appears to be quite effective. However, looking through the paper of the result of the study of the vaccine, it appears that they have high incidence of severe adverse events, like a quite bad fever or quite severe pain. So if they do have such kind of high incidence of severe adverse events, I believe that that kind of vaccination may not be accepted in Japan, the society of Japan. That is my biggest concern.
And one more question for Dr. Ohmagari. Could you explain a bit about how hospitals in Japan prepare for response to COVID-19 outbreaks?
I see. Okay.
It's very late. Second question. Second presentation from Dr. Nhung.
Yeah. This is very difficult. The most difficult part for us healthcare workers to run the hospital. One thing is the significant fraction of the patients are asymptomatic. So we cannot differentiate the patient has COVID-19 or not by a symptom itself. So what we are doing is, first thing is even though the patient or healthcare worker who has symptoms, even though it might be very small, mild, they have to admit those symptoms to the colleagues or healthcare workers. By knowing that, we can do some sort of the test for PCR testing for COVID-19, and we can at the same time we can start infection prevention control. And the second thing is some hospital wants to introduce PCR testing when they are accommodating new patients in the hospital. I mean, new admission in the hospital. Third thing is the universal masking. Because I may have COVID-19 and you may have COVID-19 even though we are asymptomatic. But everybody has a possibility, likelihood of having COVID-19. I mean the virus in the throat. So to prevent for us to transmit those viruses to other people, what we can do is wearing a mask, even though we are asymptomatic. So the hospital in Japan now, every healthcare workers are wearing a mask, and even the patient, inpatient and outpatient is wearing a mask, so that they will not prevent the virus to other people. So by those ways, we are coping with this issue of COVID-19.
Thank you very much. I learned that the Japanese healthcare worker is very careful, and there's a lot of they are dealing with a lot of stress because the manager asking them not to go out for drink.
Right.
Yeah, it's a stress because almost no party for the whole 1 year.
Right. Right.
And we have tried tele drink, but not so effective.
You know, if the vaccine is effective, we might be able to do that in 1 year, but I don't know for sure. But
Yeah.
you know, I believe that we need innovation, even though we are thinking about drinking or making a party.
Okay.
Some sort of innovation may create some new way of enjoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody, shall we move the stage to Vietnam and listen to some strategy or experience from Dr. Nhung in his hospital? Actually, I'm very impressed in the feature, actually a classification in Japan, where they stratify each prefecture into high risk or low risk of outbreak of COVID-19. And that is really practical because they take into account the limitation of the healthcare system. For example, in Okinawa, there's not so many ICU beds. So they raised the level of alarm in the very high from the beginning. So blocking on the passenger from other prefecture.
Yeah.
So let those things help me to understand why the Vietnamese government really kind of very aggressive screening for COVID-19 from the beginning. So, and I would like to invite Dr. Nhung to share his experience. He's actually involved in the process of decision making for this kind of strategy. Please, Dr. Nhung, can you share the screen?
Thank you very much, Dr. Quy, for the kind introduction. Hello to everyone. I would like to share with you with the title, with the in Vietnam. It focuses on the responding from the hospital, but also give you the picture of the whole picture in Vietnam. My talk will go to the first COVID-19 war and Vietnam, and we respond effectively. Of course, we are one of the most. It's not the only one. High gap risk to the lung hospital and impact to TB control in Vietnam, and safe hospital is the key for the safe, sustainable development. And safe hospital model proposed by our hospital is the National Lung Hospital. This picture shows you dramatically increased mortality. Within about 4 months from the beginning with the top 20 mortality disease in the world. And after the 4 months, it goes to the 3. And now it's exceeding this number. This the July 2020, but now it's November, it's 1,400,000. So it's already on top. This picture from the WHO. Up to the 24 November 2020, it's already nearly 60 million people is a confirmed case, and nearly 1,400,000 case deaths report to WHO. That is reported to WHO. But with the other data might be bigger, but that is reported to WHO. We can see in the world, the majority in America, second Europe, in Southeast Asia, and very fortunate, so we are in the Western Pacific, is the lowest in the prevalent and incident. This is a picture in Vietnam. We can say we have been successful in all 3 outbreaks. The first outbreak in the Vĩnh Phúc, almost imported case. And we can see here in the map, only 19 cases. The second in the Hanoi capital, is the firstly imported case, and then community transmission cases in the local, and reaching the 165 cases in the second outbreak. A little bit different with in Japan, that the outbreaks Even later is a severe, more severe as compared to the last one. The third outbreaks in Da Nang, much more difficult because the spread of the disease in request of the government is to fight the epidemic and also maintain social economic development. That is a nation for the health sector. That is very difficult. The first and the second, we concentrate more for the control the disease, but the third is the guidance of the government that we need to have a dual objective. So the question is how to develop safety. That is important. So here, that is the picture to show us the situation in Vietnam. Number one, we can see here, the most transmission is the household contact. This is important. And this shows us the close contact is important. And majority, the second, the third outbreaks did come from the hospital. We can see the Da Nang hospital here. And the second is close contact. We know how to COVID-19, how COVID-19 brings to the from the K to the other. That is very important. And here we can see the impact to the TB detection. As we know that the COVID-19 and the non-COVID-19 disease have impact, very severe impact. And we also analyze impact to the tuberculosis detection. We see that among, we compared to 18, 19, and 20, we see the dramatically reduced in the two months, the March and the April. We can see is reduction in the 12, reduction to 32, and 27, and later recover. That is for the TB detection. And we also analyze in the zonal. Zonal is the deeper reduction in the north because the disease comes from the north. And the second is in central and south later. We also have an impact to the south as well. And to impact to the economy, according to IDB, we see GDP growth rates. We see here's analyzed. In the 2020, it still have a positive 4.1 point increase. Inflation is quite the same, and employment is quite the same. And here we compare to other countries. For example, it's Myanmar and Laos and Vietnam. We are here in the middle. In the inflation, it's the middle, and the capita GDP is also other. But the data is showing that 3.7%, and compared to other countries, some minus. That is the impact to the economy. So why we achieve this? We try to share with you experience in the nature. The response one is the most important. We call here the whole political system. The first rapid, strong, and multi-sectorial response, as we learn from the other outbreaks, other pandemic, from 2003 SARS and H1N1 2009. So from beginning, the 3rd of January and later with the February, we can see a lot of the intervention here. It's the first COVID-19 case detected, and now it's a hotline set up, and we contact tracing, mandatory quarantine, and school closure across locally. And then one village in lockdown, for example, we very strong at the beginning. And later on March, we can see that mandatory quarantine to the country, national TV broadcast for the communication, and then later we go further. And when it's expansion, we have a social distancing. That is open, this close. and school open. That is the first outbreak. I think it's very successful for the rapid, strong, and the multi-sectorial response. And response 2, we call the TTQ, test, trace, quarantine, rapidly based on the epidemiological risk of infection. We test target high-risk group, including the people traveling from the overseas, close contact, and the people with the suspect disease, people living with community with the outbreaks, and regardless of self-symptom. We know that the more 50% the people with infected but no symptom. So testing capacity increase quickly. We apply also pooling. Here we have a picture for the testing we apply. And if compared to other country, for the 1K detected, we need to test more than 1,100 and highest in the compared to the world. That is one thing is emphasized. The second trace, the first hand and second hand contact is confirmed case rigorously and rapidly using technology. The police officer and with a registered citizen, social media, social network, neighbor. See the metric here. And with the mapping, we call the F1, F0, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5 based on the level of the close contact, house close contact. We can see here, and so rapidly we can detect all of the case affected by the 0. If the case detected, even the F1 to turn to the F0, and then the same with the other level. That is the trace. The third quarantine is the 14 days for the people with history exposure to confirm or suspect case, regardless of test result. Even test negative, we also the quarantine according to the rule, and these are compulsory. We can see the quarantine center here, and also the quarantine in the hospital. And the hospital also we use for the quarantine with F1, and the center might be shared with this quarantine policy. And F2 is quarantine but at home. And other response targets lockdown, of course, based on the level of the infection. Totally, it's lockdown at the moment might be 10 million. And when the lockdown is daily check the symptom test for the SARS-CoV-2 by the real-time PCR, mass serology testing, basic food, healthcare, and necessary goods were provided. That is the principle for the lockdown area. And the number 4 is also very important. We gaining trust of all the people, the population, by the transparent the information, and also the buyers. Also, we need to manage information in the good way. And the fifth is social distancing, traveling restriction, and the border closure in the state. That all of this is makes our success in this COVID-19 control. So now it's a new normal. How to be safe. And hospital, we identify will be the target of the COVID-19 attack. We understand that the lesson from the Bạch Mai Hospital, Da Nang Hospital, and E Hospital shows the case that it's a very dangerous scenario when the hospital is not safe. All hospital, and especially in respiratory hospital, will be the target of the epidemic attack. Because the people got disease will have symptom or not symptom, but with the symptom they will come to hospital for the examination. We cannot know at the beginning is COVID or non-COVID. So with the experience of infection disease, and let's learn from the 3 outbreaks, and based on the guideline of Ministry of Health, our hospital, National Lung Hospital, and proposed a model for the safe hospital with the 3-layer screening plus expert express SARS-CoV-2 testing, and also for early tuberculosis detection as well. We can share with you some similarity of the TB and COVID-19. That is the concept we propose. Both disease is the same infectious disease. Epidemiology we see at the beginning a little bit different, but now is very different in the opposite side. At the beginning, the incident is 10 million TB is very high, but now incident of the COVID-19 is 60 million. The death for the TB is 1.5 million, but at the moment the COVID-19 also reaching 1.4 million. That is really disaster. And in Vietnam, we have a TB with 170,000 incident and 11,000 with mortality. And now it's COVID-19. We see is 1,316 and accumulated deaths for the COVID-19 in Vietnam with the 35. The data based on the 25 November 2020. Transmission modes of both disease is quite the same, but the tuberculosis is even more severe, more dangerous because of airborne transmission. But the COVID-19, we understand that the droplet and the exposure to infectious sources, that means close contact. The organ to be impacts, that's the own organ, but majority is lung, pulmonary tuberculosis at 80%, and COVID-19 we very severe in pneumonia and plus very many organ impact. We understand that the heart, the vascular, and other the neuron and other organ as well. The symptom, the difference between the two diseases, the chronic and acute, that is the most important. But cough, sputum, mild fever, waist knot, that is for the TB, and the fever is the higher fever, dry cough, sore throat, and diphtheria for the COVID-19. But the acute is very important. Diagnostic, we based on the X-ray lab test, like AB, culture, DST, and the same, the two tests we can use as common, that gene expert or TUNAT, the gene expert for the 19 based on the standard that the real-time PCR. The treatment, we have a standard regimen for the own facility, even the community-based treatment, but the COVID-19 we do not have specific treatment, but isolation and non-specific care. Prevention, the vaccine, but only preventing severe disease for children, but the vaccine at the moment as a beginning, but we do not see the impact of the vaccine to the control of the disease. To control, we do need to end the TB by early detection and cure own patient. And the COVID-19 need to do the same, the early detection and isolation. We can make this disappear. In Vietnam, we're now reaching nearly the 3 months already don't have transmission in the community. So to answer the question, how to make the hospital safe and safe hospital model for the COVID-19 response, that is suggested by Ministry of Health. So our hospital to propose this model. The model with the 10 bullets, that class 1 screening, class 2, class 3, test capacity building, emergency response unit, control of the hospital infection, logistic for epidemic prevention, by family visit with patient boarding, and information technology application and operate and connect to the handle risk that arise. This a scheme to overall of this model. That is the nature of the model. I can explain to you in English one by one. So national tuberculosis control, we call the optimal use rapid test expert express SARS-CoV-2 for safe hospital. At the beginning is own visitor. We call the screening one. That is a layer 1. So we check all the COVID-19 suspect. If the answer yes, so we provides isolated clinics. And in that, we will test expert rapidly, about less than 1 hour. If the positive, we transfer to the isolated department. But at the moment, we design another hospital. We can transfer to the other hospital to assignment for the COVID-19 treatment. And if the negative, we also put in the isolated department, because we already identify the COVID-19 suspect. So need to handle it, this specific department. And if no, and the patient goes to clinic, we call the layer 2. We call the screening 2. And screening 2, we also make this again, let's say the double check with the other tool. And if the answer yes, we also test expert. And if the positive, we transfer to the specific hospital. Or if the later is bigger epidemic, we can handle in our hospital. That is makes this more complicated. And if it's negative, also we put in the isolated department here. And if the no, we can put them to become the outpatient, but the consultation with COVID-19, how to prevent the COVID-19 as well. And if they need to hospitalize, the patient admit to the ward. And we call here is layer 3. Layer 3 is that we provide a pre-ward room to like a reception. And the patient need to be examined very early and very totally to check COVID-19 as well. If COVID-19 suspect, might be some COVID-19 identified here. So if yes, we also transfer to the test expert number 3, and also do the same for the result of the test. But this less risk, we call this is green, and this is the middle, and it's here the red. And later we put in the regular patient room, but visually with COVID-19 during the whole patient stay. That's on the scheme of our model. And we have another, the 24-hour clinic. That means to receive emergency case, and we do the 2 criteria, layer 1 and layer 2 as well in the 24-hour clinic. So here you can see the layer 1. Layer 1 screening, we challenging on the visitor and screening at the hospital, based mainly epidemiology, sign of the cough and fever, sore throat, difficulty breathing. So you can see here is the challenging. If they got the fever, they go separate way, and not they can go in with the camera temperature check with the camera here. The people distant from the other is at least 1.5 meter. So here is a scheme very clearly how to do, and that is isolated clinic. The people here, and ventilation from here, and the doctor here, the patient here, and the patient bed. We also provide the chest X-ray for the X-ray car very near to the screening area, and this is very safe for the specimen taking. This is label 1. The layer 2 screening, we put more deeper to ask the patient with some clinical sign. For example, the chest X-ray might be the CT scan. We see here is no symptom: fever and cough, sore throat, headache, and myalgia, fever, cough, and so on. That is we double check. It's more strictly for the COVID-19. Here we can see the role of the chest X-ray and the CT scan can make it. We emphasize if the lesion, like the ground glass lesion, and both sides, that is the signal to indicate COVID-19 at the moment. And layer three screening is the inpatient ward. There are buffer room we call the pre-worst room to welcome and double check the risk of the new patient to the ward and monitor vigilantly with the COVID-19 during the whole the stay. Here we also provide the specimen taking, and here is like in the 24 hours clinic, they do both class 1 and class 2 for screening. Isolated department is important. To handle screening result of the own grade requires isolated treatment unit, and we call emergency response unit. And this must be separate from the rest part of the hospital, with the red, the yellow, and the green zone for the patient who needs to isolate after screening of the own labor. And the most important control is early detection that requires a test sensitive and fast enough to minimize the risk of transmission, such as Expert Express, SARS-CoV-2. That is very important. We introduce you now. So this is a scheme of the emergency, or let's say isolated department, with the green, the yellow, and the red one based on the level of the risk of the infection. Monitoring patient as well with the distance, the bed, patient bed distance is 2 meters. So here is like a standard of us. And here's isolated. We call here's emergency response unit that limited with travel. So the Expert Express SARS-CoV-2 is the test we mentioned to you, already approved by the FDA and recommend WHO, and it's already filed for this confirmed to use with sensitivity and specificity already identified. This is a picture for the Express SARS-CoV-2 kit expert with the number, the kit, the pipette, the store condition. Here is a 228 degree. We can see here, we see that this test targets the 2 gene E and N2. Internal control in each direction, very close system avoiding contamination. Symptom procedure, the point of care, very fast and high sensitivity and specificity. We can do also the pool can be effective. We can see here that is some technique. And Vietnam, we have already 216 machine and Expert side with the 147 side. And here we can see the picture with the positive, and here's the result negative. That is very simple in the implementation, but of course inside the technique is very complicated. As a point important, first, minimize risk of the cross transmission in the hospital. That is very important in the hospital. The second, to activate infection control, good ventilation, adequate bed distance, and PPE, and good clinical practice at all corners of the hospital. Limiting patient and family to visit hospital, controlling own visitor, and providing safe nutrition within the hospital, and strong standby steering committee to promptly address the risk condition are very important. We can see here is the PPE. We are PPE, but use it adequately, use it correctly is very important. And we see here our team, and we also provides community with good message. That means not visit the patient in the hospital. Everywhere we need to hygiene in the surface and information to announce the people washing and keeps a distance, that's distancing, and all of this. Here is official announcement to not encourage the people to go to hospital within the epidemic. And the next one is very important, the information technology application. COVID-19 to put the hospital become more faster to be digital hospital. We can see Vietnam have blue zone to make faster to tracing when the case detected. We apply electronic health declaration in the hospital. We also apply hit list pack, and we apply to administrative system like base for connecting all the department in hospital. We call the digital hospital. Provides online health service like Assoc care we already apply. And last one is applying artificial intelligence and ECHO. ECHO stands for the extension community healthcare outcome, remotely consultation. That is make it effectively. In summary, COVID-19 is still very severe pandemic in the world. Vietnam has very good response by rapid TTQ with the whole political system involvement, so that under control at the moment, but still need to be maintained in the new normal. In that Save a Hospital initiative is most important in new normal protecting community. 3-layer screening for COVID-19 model is effective. That all hospitals should follow to be safe. Rapid and accurate tests such as GeneSpurt for early detecting and new case is very useful for this model. And last one is the leadership play a critical role to make hospitals safe in the new normal. Thank you very much for your attention. We would like to thank our colleague from National Lung Hospital, Vietnam Lung Association, National TB Program, WHO's country office in Vietnam, and 5F Group provides a dashboard with the Ngoc Institute of Medical Research and our patient. Thank you. And welcome to question and comment.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nhung, for a very nice talk and summary about the way that Vietnamese government has implanted to cope with COVID-19, and also introduction about the screening model in many layers in your hospital. To my understanding, lung disease is one of the risk factors for catching COVID-19 and as well as to receive the severe, and lung disease is the risk factor for severe COVID-19 infection. And that's why your hospital use a very aggressive screening strategy. I have a question about the cost effectiveness of this method. And do you think that is applicable to other hospitals in the community?
Yes, that is a very, very important question. The cost effective.
Yeah, because you show that you need to screen 11,000 patients to catch one case, right?
No, that is a figure of the country.
I see.
This is not in the hospital. It is the laboratory test accumulated in the country. We analyze it, not in the hospital. Hospitals, the majority in the screening by symptom, and we apply the GeneSpurt rapid test for this model. So this model, I think first, it is necessary for the own hospital. The second, the cost, it depends on how to arrange this model in the hospital. We already have support from Goodwill Fund and protecting the hospital, just modify some infrastructure. Like we need isolated clinic, very near to screening site. Screening, we can provide the remote temperature check. We apply the electronic declaration for health, and connecting with his health information system, and that's it. And now we scan up with the gene expert. That is very fast. It's the 30 or 45 minutes, and this is already support from the Global Fund. So I think this model can be applied for any hospital. Only just a modified infrastructure. But the most important is the leadership. The director need to take this like an initiative necessary for the safe hospital.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ang, do we have any other question from the floor?
Dr. Wynn, can I ask one question?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Professor Nhung, for very comprehensive and effective models. One thing I can see from your proposed model is majorities of the measures so far apply into the patient. But I wonder, do you consider any measures, preventive measure that apply to the medical staff? For example, like the antibody testing for medical staff to identify the people who got infected but without symptom. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Dang. This one thing we are also thinking about. For example, we test antigen only the person who currently have disease, but the disease the past already. So rapid test like the serology for the surveillance. I think this should apply for the community. And the hospital, we also have some useful for this, for detecting who miss the period of the detection, for how to say, revert back to the time they got, and then identify who contact with them by that time, and might be identify the other resource of the infectious case. But for the safe hospital, I think at the moment we do not have this policy to test serology in the hospital.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question, Dr.
Yes,
Wynn.
please.
Dr. Nhung, such a fabulous and detailed presentations. I learned so much from your presentation. I'm wondering, for vaccine, COVID-19 is coming, how you and Vietnam strategy to apply vaccine, and because the number of prevalence of COVID-19 is such a so low in Vietnam at the moment, and so can you share with us what is the next plan for vaccine COVID-19 in Vietnam?
Thank you. This is not, I'm not the position to answer adequately of this, but just my thinking. The vaccine, it takes time. In my point of view, I think in Vietnam to make the delivery step as soon as 2022, it's not 2021. And we can see the Sputnik vaccine in Russia, but not yet impact to the controlling epidemic. So for COVID-19, in my mind, the most important intervention, strong, timely, as soon as possible, as early and rapidly. That is important. So I want to emphasize the political commitment of the government and the whole system, political system, working with the core in the healthcare system. I think that is adequate. I not say that we have very low mortality, that the health system in Vietnam is a very high level. It's low. It's still not very high compared to America or other. but the workload, if the epidemic is level is very high, the health system cannot handle. So we need to control COVID-19 in the early stage, like it's the border. And if the country's border, like the air border or the in the land border, but for hospital, the border, that is the gate. So the screening at the beginning is very important for the safe hospital. That is the concept. Vaccine is of course, that is the like a long-term control. We look forward as soon as possible. But in Vietnam, I think the vaccine is not yet in the policy. And I have heard that in the Ministry of Health, we also discuss on the vaccine, how to do that. But also encourage our scientists and institutions to develop the vaccine. And for example, in Pfizer, we keep in the minus 80 degree. That delivery in Vietnam, I think is very, very difficult, and might be not affordable as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the very good point from Dr. Wynn. I have the same concern about whether we should deliver vaccine for everybody and open the door to work normally, or we should keep the very strict screening and prevention like right now. And Dr. Wynn is also the next presenter of our conference. He's one of my close friends in America, and also a famous YouTuber who keep continuing review and update many important information about COVID-19. And this is our pleasure to invite him to talk today about his summary about the trends of COVID-19 in America. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Nhung, for your nice talk, and please welcome Dr. Wynn.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Wynn, and such an honor to be here tonight. Just to let you know, it's 10 p.m. California time, and I'd like to share with you some story. And hopefully, when I finish this presentation, we have a lot of discussions. All right, let me go ahead and see if can you see all my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, let me start with this. I do not have any interest, personal conflict or interest in this, because some of my slides you will see, or you may see, this is a little bit political indication, but this is how we are. We live in the US. So I do not have any personal, political, or financial conflict in the presentations. I also do not endorse any products, any parties, or person in these presentations. All right, I'd like to share with you the objective for today. Just to share with you an overview of COVID-19 situation in the US. I'd like to identify 5 major challenges in US situation, because I'd like to see why other countries like Vietnam and Japan and many countries did so well, and why our country, the US, did not do so well. So the 5 major challenges I'd like to share with you today are large population with high risk, public confidence in the government and people, poor coordination among and between state and federal agencies, and also the complexity of the US health system with many uninsured people, and then COVID-19 vaccine perception and distribution. As we are talking today, Thanksgiving holiday just passed by yesterday. Unfortunately, 13 million cases in the US, and 265 families have to say goodbye to their loved ones. I told people that every single case is a love story to share. So to me, COVID-19 just pure a number. it is many things behind. COVID-19 also puts our country, the US, in the top 10 in terms of COVID-related death. The US contributes 25% of total COVID-19 cases globally, even though we contribute only 5% to the global populations. And obviously, you can see COVID-19 plays such an important role in US elections and impacts severely our economy. This graph just summarizes how COVID-19 arrived back in April and March, and now where we are in November 2020. You will see a continuous increase of number of cases, and also the positivity rate has fluctuated up and down. And we spoke today, we have a record number, and I don't need to tell you again, we are the #1 country in terms of number of cases. So everyone knows this. Why this happened? What do you think? I'd like you to think for a moment, and then we'll go back at the end to discuss why. Before COVID-19 happened, there is Global Health Index measure country in response to a pandemic. Then this is based on 6 categories: prevention of the emergence, release, or spread of the pathogens, early detection, rapid response, sufficient and robust health system, commitment to improve national capacity, and then rich environments and country vulnerability to biological threats. This, you may see this several times last year. And this is how the US was stand before COVID-19. Our country was evaluated by GSS, and we determined we are one of the best because we have a robust resources in epidemiology. We have high quality labs. We have well-trained epidemiologists, and we have a lot of things. However, the GSS did not evaluate all the factors. For example, COVID-19 population vulnerability. It did not evaluate the coordination and collaboration among and between state and federal agencies, and many, many others. In this picture, you can see the higher score, the better presume and assume that a country may respond to a pandemic. And obviously, US was one of the top countries. And when I look at this figure today, I cannot stop thinking, why? So let's go to the challenges, because to me, this may have an impact why the US did not respond well to the COVID-19. The first and one of the major challenges that I personally see in my clinic, in the hospital, and in every day when I treat COVID-19 patients is we do have such a high-risk population for COVID-19 in terms of mortality as well as morbidities. And what are these? Obesity, cardiovascular disease, aging population, chronic lung disease, and cancer. But let me emphasize one key thing that we try to fight over the year, because we are a country, unfortunately, we are a country of overweight. 2 in every 3 Americans is overweight, and 42% are obese, like almost 1 in 2, and 46% have high blood pressure, 1 in 2. Multiple study, meta-analysis for multiple studies show that a higher BMI is a predictor for COVID-19 poor outcome. In addition, cardiovascular and diabetes are predictor of poor outcome. And young patients with higher BMI are also at risk. It's not just the general risk that we see or we know. This is our country population obesity in 2008. And if you look carefully, this map somehow can represent a number of COVID-19 mortality and morbidity related. And we are one of the unhealthy country. So there is a ranking from the United Kingdom, they derive data from WHO, the CIA Workbook, and then the World Lung Associations. And we are a top unhealthy country in the world. When I'm telling my student, my medical student, my fellow, my residents, I'm telling them, we are not a healthy country, and very few of them, believe it or not, realize that America is not a healthy country. So this to tell you the truth and the fact that we have a lot to do, a lot we have to learn from other countries. Let's move on to major challenge number 2. And this is, it may touch into some political system or personal opinion, but I just give you the fact. In the US, we have such a low public confidence in government regarding many key measurements: physical distance, hygiene, mask requirement, follow-up and report lab results, and also self-isolation when contracted with COVID-19. How do we know? So let's look at some number. The Pew Research Center, one of the major research centers in the US, they did thousands of surveys, and surprisingly, those numbers that show up to tell you what is the general public perceptions. For example, when they ask about distrust, making problem solving harder, look at the number percent of people, they have problem with trust. And you will see a lot of them, the majority of them have problem with this. Let's go into details. The public have such a low confidence in the government into managing other things such as effectively handling threat to public health. You will see on the very bottom right here, versus keeping the country safe from terrorists. So in other words, most Americans believe the government, including the state and federal agency, did a good job in protecting them from terrorists, but not protecting them from public health issues. If you look at this number, you will see even such a low percentage public trust for a decade. If you follow back in 1958 into 2020s, you will see how the public trust. Okay, that's not bad enough. Let's move to the major. This is one of the major one, is the US government structure, with, believe it or not, is one of the major challenging when it comes to dealing with COVID-19. There are 2,000, let me tell you, 2,000 agencies responsible for COVID-19 response in the US. And this is divided between and among state, federal agencies. This is such a complex task. And you will see that the CDC, the Department of Health, they have, believe it or not, very limited authority to direct local officers to take actions. For example, if CDC today required people in California have to mask mandating, they do not have that authority because the state have certain privilege and right to refuse or not to cooperate with the federal agency. The other issue is federal government had also uneven assistance to state, funding and supply delay. For example, the federal government have reference to some state versus other states. And let me tell you why. Because this is Republican versus Democrat state. The federal government at the moment is Republicans, and certainly they have some reference to Republican state. And other like Democrat state will have uneven assistance, and people have seen this for the past several months. Unfortunately, COVID-19 does not discriminate whether you are a Republican or a Democrat. It will attack everyone. So that's the message I'd like to share with you today, is when people involved with political belief, it may damage or it may impact to how we respond to a pandemic. Another example here is in poor coordination. The US is not centralizing, it's such a decentralizing health system and into federal and local agency. Because of this, it's more cost. There's a lot of and low volume testing, and you will see that even such a robust epidemiology system, the US testing was not adequate until even today. For the past 10 months, we keep telling we need to test more people. Look at the lesson I learned today from Japan and Vietnam. See how aggressive those countries in terms of testing. We did not. Let's move on to the next challenge. And let me ask you what it is. This is a complex healthcare system in the US. This picture, just to tell you, is it how Obamacare is. Why I show you this picture? Because imagine if you are a patient, can you navigate through this system? There's almost no way because so much complexity. And to be honest with you, as a doctor, I even cannot figure out. It takes me so many months or a year to learn about this. And the moment you learn about this system, they change to a different system. Now they talk about not doing Obamacare, it's something else. There are 4 or 5 stakeholders in the US healthcare system. And the most important person in this one is patients. We all know this. But if you look at this model again, a patient is not in the center because it's been involved with many, many things. It's not the patient in the center here. It's such a complex healthcare system. And yet, the healthcare expenditure in the US is higher than those developed countries. We actually one of the highest. And look at the number here. We spend over $11,000 per capita. And some other country like Italy or United Kingdom, we spend a double. And then look at the number of administrative costs. We are one of the most expensive country. Yet, we're doing poorly in terms of outcome. Look at how we compare to other countries. We're not certainly the best, you can tell. And some of us actually do really, really bad in terms of, for example, infant mortality. We're doing so poor. And then other countries, you can tell right here, the quality of primary care in the US just mediocre. It's not one of the best. Let me move on to the final one. And because this is one of the key challenges, the vaccine. You may have heard in the past 4 weeks some good news about new vaccine for COVID-19, but the vaccine implantation is a key challenge in the next couple of months. Why? Because look at this picture. We have a lot of issue already. We have trust issue. We have federal, state, and local issue. And now we think about supply and logistics, and then coverage and cost. So let's dig into that. As we spoke today, November 2020, we have 13 vaccines in phase 3, and 6 of them already be in limited use. So the 2 most promising one is from Pfizer and Moderna. And each costs about $40 to $50. And those 2 vaccines are expected to deliver a lot, many doses to the US and also globally. Well, one of the key things when you look at this in terms of logistics is Pfizer requires such a super cold, like minus 70 Celsius degrees versus Moderna minus 20s. So those could be challenge to many hospitals. But to me, that's not the real challenge. So as we spoke today, Pfizer, they already applied for EUA, the emergency use authorizations, and the FDA is scheduled to have a meeting on December 10, whether to approve this or not. So hopefully in the next couple of days, we will hear. But the most challenging aspect for COVID-19 vaccine is not about logistics. It's about the American people. It's about, should you take the vaccine? So let me walk you back in September. Then what happened? In September, depends on who you are, whether you're Democrat or you're Republicans, then you have different perception on vaccine. And this is just unbelievable. I will tell you, it is just unbelievable because, again, COVID-19 will impact you no matter what. It doesn't matter whether you are Republican or Democrat. This is a disease, and this is a highly contagious disease. So look at the people right here. Some of them will get the vaccine, some of them will not. Moving forward to November, which is this month, now more Americans are willing to take vaccine with a recent study. And I hope that will be the trend in the next couple of months. The final little bit challenge, not major one, is how do we prioritize a vaccine? So based on this, we have a lot of people need to vaccine as soon as possible. We call tier 1, 26 million people. Those are really, really high risk population. And these are frontline workers, doctors, nurses, and pharmacists. In summary, there are many challenges to have an optimal response for COVID-19 in the US. So those are a large population with high risk. We have a lot of people with overweight and obesity, cardiovascular disease, and many, many other chronic problems. We have low public confidence in the government and also within people, and poor coordination among and between states and federals, complexity of a healthcare system with many uninsured people. And then last one is COVID-19 perception and distribution would be another challenge. Thank you very much for VANJ to invite me for this wonderful conference. And here's my email and time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wynn, for your brilliant talk about the effect of COVID-19 in the USA. And you also supply many potential causes and the complexity of the society and healthcare system in the US. Really, I'm really impressed by your talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wynn.
Dr. Ang, may we receive some comments or question from the floor?
Yeah, I received one question that as Americans got problems of NCD, the financial burden is quite high. If they got COVID, who will pay for them? No.
Thank you for this excellent question. This is a practical questions. Let me tell you very brief. The patient will not pay for this. If the patient have commercial or state insurance, they will be covered by this. And even if they do not, almost any state, for example, California, we do have a program for people who have uninsured and no resources. So ultimately, there is some payment assistance to COVID-19 patients. It will take time. It won't happen automatically, but the patient usually they apply for assistance and they should receive from that. But also, this is a time for me to send a message to many people. If you have COVID-19 or if you are afraid of COVID-19 and you need medical care, please do not delay your care, because many patients have cardiovascular disease, cancer, because they're afraid of COVID-19. They did not go to the hospital. Unfortunately, I have one particular patient have a heart attack at home. and he did not make it. The patient were afraid of COVID-19 if he's going to the hospital. And similarly, I have other patients have no insurance and they also are afraid. So the message is take care of yourself first, and it's okay to seek care.
Thank you very much. I can see Dr. Wynn from the beginning of the pandemic really update every day about COVID-19 and related disease, and try to teach people how to cope with comorbidity that can reduce the risk of the disease. Thank you very much for your effort. And for the last question, I would like to ask your personal opinion about vaccination. In the case of Vietnam, you know, we already know that we don't have such a high risk feature for COVID-19, and we are doing really well during this pandemic. Do you think that we really need the vaccination?
In my opinion, I think every country have a different situations. So I do not think one country should apply to or use other countries. Like this conference, we learn from that. But I do believe the prevention is a multifactorial. I really like Dr. Nhung mentioned on early detections and early containments. And then I think vaccine is one, I say just one of many features, many key we need to work together. I told people again, vaccine alone will not solve the problem. It will not. You need a total package. You need to address many other issues. I told my resident all the time, if you can help me control diabetes, control high blood pressure, control overweight in the next 10 years, then if COVID-30 happened, or whatever COVID-29 is, you save a lot of people already. It's not just vaccine. It's not just one factor, just like we talked today. Many, many factors. Thank you, Dr. Wee.
Right. I totally agree with you. Thank you very much. And I just read a newspaper today mentioned about the negative effect of COVID-19 all over the world. And I know that all of us think about COVID as a very bad one, but actually there's very good information related to innovation that really happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like to invite you to the talk from Dr. Takeuchi, telling story, really beautiful story from Vietnam about what we really did to overcome this difficulty. And actually, I would like to know, I would like to say that there's many things we want to come back to the normal, but there's something we want to keep it right now because COVID-19 really pushed the healthcare system to reach many advantages that we did not do in the past. Thank you very much. Please start your presentation, Dr. Takeuchi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kui, for your kind introduction. Can you share my? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I also like to thank the organizer for having given me this opportunity. And after all these excellent presenters, I feel very humble to make. But I feel that my presentation talking about actually the importance of advancing universal health coverage, especially because in time of COVID-19, would somewhat supplement the excellent presentation of the efforts as Dr. Nhung described, and how hospital has been striving, leading these efforts, as well as some of the systemic and also issues like NCD just presented by Professor Tran for the US. So I will skip this epidemiological situation, as Dr. Nhung already explained very much in detail, that to show that how Vietnam has been having COVID-19 under control. So some of the best practice lessons learned already, I would not repeat too much, but we have seen the very strong government leadership and the whole of society approach and early activation of all the strong public health response system. And then, yeah, lessons learned and good preparedness for health emergency, public health emergency response system. And I also like to add, because I'm leading the team for health system and health promotion in WHO Vietnam, I like to emphasize the last point, kind of to supplement the long-term investment of the government of Vietnam to strengthen people's access to quality services, including financial protection and preventive system, which really, I guess, resonates with the points raised by Professor Tran. And then but still to show the whole picture of what WHO supports to the government for COVID response. So we cover all these areas for public health response and also prevention and preparation of the system in time for the possible wider community transmission. So we have a team working on the health security and the communicable disease led by my excellent colleague, Dr. Satoko Otsu, known by many, I think, other Japanese colleagues. And I'm in charge of another team for universal health coverage, health promotion, environmental health, and so on. So this is really has been a kind of joint effort, because our team has been really supporting area like patient pathways, and then engaging community and other like e-learning and for healthcare workers that I will describe a little bit in details later, and other kind of preventive and health promotion measures in association with COVID-19. So I would like to introduce the universal health coverage, which is overarching health goals for the UN Sustainable Development Goal. The definition is that all people have access to quality health care when they need, without suffering financial hardship. And this is really the time that COVID-19 kind of magnified the importance, because of UHC and the US investment in UHC in the peacetime, as clearly described in the country, in the example of the US, for example, that when you have like health inequity and an inequitable system and a not resilient system, that virus will get to these, areas that is vulnerable and fragmented. So Vietnam, government of Vietnam has been investing in health in the for a long time, but especially past few decades, they have been increasing the government health expenditure at the faster level than the level of GDP growth. And as it stands, currently we have this UHC indicator as defined by WHO and World Bank. It's ranking around 75 out of 100, especially good indicators in the traditional areas supported, like MCH and communicable disease. And we have some more remaining areas to be improved, especially NCD. And then in the this bar graph shows the increase of health insurance coverage. So this has been really tremendous increase in terms of social health insurance coverage. Now more than 90% of the whole population is covered, and all the public institutions and the health insurance system, and some private institutions started to join. So in addition to the government expenditure, and especially the emphasis on the providing sufficient budget and the preventive system, this is really the backbone that people have assurance for UHC in Vietnam. Then also government has even more ambitious goal for 2030 to improve healthy life expectancy and health insurance coverage of over 95%, while further reducing out-of-pocket expenditure. And all the community health centers should be able to manage, provide NCD management services. And immunization coverage is already quite high, more than 90%, but we want to have it more than over 95%. And then even a better control of HIV and TB and elimination of malaria and so on. So these are the UHC goals in Vietnam. and then Vietnam has been really steadily progressing towards this goal. So even before COVID, our office has been supporting what is called primary healthcare reform. And I think this is really a great story to supplement how the leading hospital like the Lung Hospital has been displaying that highest level of care with all measures to respond to COVID-19. But just going back to the history, around 1990s, when the Vietnam introduced Momoe and moved to the socialist market economy and associated with health sector reform, public health facilities started introducing user fee system. And in the last 2 decades, there's also another policy on hospital autonomy. So some public hospitals are required to be financial independent, either partially or fully. So this kind of triggered that hospital need to have the patients for their maintaining their revenue, and also as economy grew, people's consumers' perception for quality of care changed. So it triggered hospital overcrowding, as we call it. So if you look, this is the service delivery model in green triangle, which should be, and all the precious high-level healthcare and resources should be kept for the most severe condition, of course, the central provincial level hospital, but actual people's healthcare seeking behavior become like the opposite the opposite triangle shape. So this has really pressured the hospital sector, also kind of yielded the underutilization of district primary healthcare services. And in Vietnam, we call the district and commune level is the backbone of grassroots system. So the recent national policy in resolution 20, the government made it clear that strengthening the grassroots system and have people back to the grassroots system again is the way for Vietnam to achieve UAC, so that sufficient resources will be kept for sufficient level at the higher level of the care. And then COVID came, and then actually what we found in our region, not only in Vietnam, the COVID severity model, as you know well, that we have to keep the very precious, scarce health resources for the most severe patients who need intensive care, and the next group was about 20% need hospitalization and so on. So we really need a good kind of division of labor by the level of care. So COVID outbreak really kind of re-emphasized the importance of having strong primary health care, so that either the initial like screening or maybe even post-COVID kind of follow-up could be dealt in the community, if not in the isolation center. And as also COVID-19 came in, many patients kind of started changing the behavior to avoid the overcrowding hospital because they are afraid of infection, and government also started encouraging to use more primary health care as your first care of contact. So this really accelerate our support for primary healthcare reform, and in this endeavor, two of our key focal is to strengthen NCD management and the care for all the population. So strengthen NCD at the commune health station is beginning, and similarly to US, but maybe much less extent yet. But already the 77% of the cause of death are due to NCDs, even in Vietnam. And we have an increasing risk factor such as alcohol consumption, tobacco consumption, and unhealthy diet, and so on. So, and then population is rapidly aging. So we have a lot of ongoing risk. And then while the commune health stations are quite equipped now to deal with like MCH and communicable disease and general care, they have been being equipped fully to manage NCD routine follow-up after patient getting proper diagnosis, for example, at the higher level hospital, that they are best to be referred back to community health station. And then we also support like self management and family support for prevention, early detection and follow-up in the community. And then also community health station, which is in your community to serve people in a place they live. And then supported by the higher level health system and public health system for any complexity. So this has been already ongoing in all provinces in Vietnam as a part of strengthen primary health care. And since after COVID, all our NCD management training being conducted in conjunction with the kind of COVID-19 refresher. So really trying to get these two areas together, taking a COVID-19 as a kind of opportunity to accelerate this area. Another area we are trying to improve in primary health care is to improve the care for older population. But a little bit broadly, the WHO support the concept of healthy aging, that is process of developing and maintain the functional ability of the older population that enables their well-being in older age. So functional ability comprised of intrinsic capacity. So this could be like physical and cognitive and all that can decline by age. But it's also greatly either maintained or supported by different environment using assistive devices, for example, even like having barrier-free building and all your environment that you live in your community and so on. That can make a lot of difference. So this since this year, last year, we've been working on this what we call WHO guideline on integrated care for all the people that is really developed for the primary health care and even health and social workers, very customized tool to make a personal plan for different areas of the older population's health, associated with older population's health. And we developed, launched a handbook and also ICOPS in the Vietnamese language. And now we are supporting the government to provide training at district and commune level. And we will later further work on the more age-friendly environment and the community engagement. And again, that is all of these are now also taking place in conjunction with the COVID-19 awareness and refresher training. So, and then, yes, thank you, as the chair mentioned about innovation. I think this is happening in many countries, and also like our conferences having on all Zoom. So we are all learning and developing skills for innovation every day with the COVID-19. But yeah, we have had luckily some pre-investment made for example, with one of the university, Haiphong University of Medicine and Pharmacy, to develop the e-learning for health platform prior to COVID. After the COVID came in, we fully utilized this platform to upload all the COVID-related modules translated from WHO Open Up and other original materials developed in Vietnam to provide to not only medical students, but all the healthcare workers, especially at the primary healthcare level who are working in remote areas, so that they can easily come for the training. And also especially in the time of COVID, that the travel restriction was there within the between the provinces. So this e-health learning platform was really actively has been used since the COVID-19. And also Dr. Nhung already also mentioned about digital hospital and other IT application. So the government of Vietnam has had this digitalization 4.0 plan, and each sector, including health, has a plan for go digitalize in health. And then during the COVID-19, I understand that many like central hospitals have had used this telehealth network to treat a very severe patients. So even if these patients who are most experienced may not be in the particular hospital, they could provide guidance to how to treat these most severe patients. And this is like the network between specialists and specialists, or another specialist and doctor with lower level. And then also other networking of the primary healthcare level is beginning, and WHO is also trying to support MOH to facilitate this, especially learning and supportive telehealth network between the district health and communal health station. Again, this is the backbone of our grassroots system. And also in the time of new normal and avoiding physical distance, especially in preparation for possibly wide community transmission, the telemedicine between communal health station and people in the community. So these are the kind of initiative that we are taking the crisis into opportunity to further accelerate application of telehealth, telemedicine. And then just on the last few, so COVID vaccine, already there was some discussion and answers in the chat box. I just also would like to reiterate, as Dr. Nhung said, this is still in the pipeline, but yes, government has a kind of vaccine deployment plan being drafted and is still being discussed. And then their first priority is to promote the domestic vaccine production as a probably most sustainable way, and some bilateral discussion ongoing with the government of UK, for example, and then WHO together with UNICEF, of course, supporting their participation in the COVAX facility. So the situation now is around here, that the government is preparing application form. Especially my team is supporting the regulatory preparedness, among other things, because for this kind of emergency deployment, that the regulatory system, especially for marketing authorization, lot release, and then management of adverse event, following immunization, AEFI, and risk communication is particularly important, as also other speakers mentioned, especially with have had pentavalent vaccine AEFI issues in last few years, and there was good vaccine acceptance in general, but there are some fear about certain kinds of vaccines. So AEFI management and risk communication would be quite important. And even not just for the COVID vaccine, because if this is not dealt well, there will be a possible decline of trust on the vaccine should fall other immunization programs. So I think this will be a very important issue for us to support, in addition to all this cold chain and the logistic support. So last, I think also WHO works on health, but COVID affects all of our society. So we work with many other UN agencies on to address the broader socioeconomic impact. Just a few examples. One of thing is, for example, the new initiative working with ILO to support the guideline for healthy workplace. Another area, for example, to work with the UNICEF to improve access to safe and clean water, not only in the communities, but also at the healthcare facilities. And then with IOM, the migrants are sometimes quite vulnerable to be left out with any service access. So we are also working with these migrants and health, especially in the time of COVID, including all those Vietnamese returnees coming back from overseas as they lost job, for example. So there are many areas that we are working as a UN family. Then finally, as just because this this session's title is for sustainable effective strategy, I just want to summarize a few things to support the government dual targets of disease outbreak control and economic development. And then the slogan is a safe coexistence with COVID-19. We really try to support all the public health measure for the government to remain vigilant and taking more risk-based approach. So make a good balance of public health and economy, but also make sure that all the other essential services are not forgotten, especially immunization already reduced some coverage, especially in the month of April, for example, NCD and risk factors and older people, as it will really contribute to the prevention on the, to prevent the severe COVID cases. And also this week is the antimicrobial antibiotics awareness week globally. And we also had Dr. Nhung and Dr. Ohmagari in the WHO AMR related events. I also want to emphasize not to forget the issue of AMR in the time of COVID-19. Then our team will continue to support the building resilient health system and stronger PHC to reduce health inequity and protect vulnerable population. So we are saying in WHO, this is, of course, the government is normalizing the new normal. We also say maybe we can even become better. So using innovation and so on. So not rather than new normal, we try to aim for new better. Then this is our regional directors, the graphic that COVID-19 really gave us the different kind of new viewpoint to that, and health redefines the way we live. So beyond health sector, that the many things are changing in the business and society. And instead of going for a more fragmented and conflict world, we will try to go and even using innovation, not just go up slowly, but try to leapfrog to the new normal using innovation and creating the future together. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Over to the chair.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive talk about actually positive changes in Vietnam healthcare system during the COVID-19 pandemic. And thank you very much for mentioning not only about the universal health coverage, which is very meaningful to Vietnamese, but also the network to prevent non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and hypertension in Vietnam. And your talk reminded me about the previous quote from Dr. Wynn from the Viet MD organization and from the Wynn Medical Center, that the most meaningful work to reduce the health effects of COVID-19 is actually to control the non-communicable disease, right? Thank you very much. And I would like to welcome a question from the floor. Any question, Dr. An?
Yeah, we have a question about on the Facebook on the how the USC yeah, let me read it. How the USC progress now in Vietnam have contributed to the change of the situation of the COVID-19 in Vietnam.
Yes, okay, yes, thank you very much. I think, yeah, as maybe I was too quick to show the graph, but so UHC in terms of the service coverage index, this is the composite index. Vietnam is about 75 over 100. So it's really going well. And compared to other countries with the same economic level, it's actually quite good. And financial protection, as you saw, is quite good. And in addition to health, so for service coverage, as I mentioned, the communicable disease MCH in general is quite good, and they have invested in a very good surveillance system, laboratory capacity. I mean, really taking the lessons since the SARS and the H5N1 and so on. So we are really in a good shape thanks to the government leadership. But as we now already emphasized many times that some of the risk factors for COVID patient to become severe is age or is NCDs, pre-existing condition. And that part that I didn't show you the figure, but we have some data from a STEP survey, for example, that about less than half of people who have like high blood pressure or high blood glucose, for example, first go to healthcare. And then among this, we call the cascade of loss, right? Then about less than half will be actually treated and then they control. So they, like HIV cascade loss, that we know there's some kind of prevalence, but actual service coverage and then treatment success is still limited. So these are the areas that using the COVID-19 as opportunity, we really have to urgently accelerate. And also financial coverage, government of Vietnam did a very good job in terms of not only supporting like test fee, but providing financial support for the quarantine and the other business sector, the poor population. And then as Professor Tran mentioned, the US, if you are US in uninsured, I guess when you are sick, either COVID or non-COVID, you would feel reserved. You would not easily go to seek care, right? And if you don't go to healthcare, nothing will be picked up. So I think in that sense, at least all the government, all the people in Vietnam, most of them have access to healthcare at the initial stage. So this is really the great assurance. And I think that helped. I believe that it helped Vietnam a lot for prevention of initial, the fight against COVID-19. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm very happy to hear the voice from WHO Vietnam, right? And your talk really brilliant about the problem that Vietnamese community need to deal with in the near future. Actually, I have a question about the fees in terms of the cost effectiveness, because many patients told me that the healthcare payment is very cheap in Vietnam. So, but we need to spend many treatment of severe diseases such as cancer. And how it's going to be, because in the future, we need to spend money for preventive work, such as how to have people do more exercise and change their lifestyle. Do you think that the coverage will also take care of that part?
Okay, Professor Quiz, that's very relevant question. So actually, while I praised the 95% coverage of health insurance fund in Vietnam, we have a bit of issue since the last 2 years. Vietnam Health Insurance Fund in red, that means more expenditure than revenue. And then of course there's some saving and difference among provinces. So overall it's still running. But as we analyze the expenditure, that of course the people's health-seeking behavior has increased and they want to have more of health. The health expenditure per capita from 2000 to 2017 increased 3 times fold. So it's about more than $200. But the thing is that there are probably unnecessary or overuse of medicine. It's really related to our AMR because more than half of expenditure is medicine, and the amount that is the majority, quite a big significant number, more than 1/3 is antibiotics. And then Vietnam is one of the countries which is showing the quite increasing AMR resistant to some of the key, broad spectrum antibiotics, for example. So we think we don't want to discourage people's behavior because we want to have people have good access, but we don't need for the system to give unnecessary treatment, unnecessary diagnosis, unnecessary medication, especially which may especially lead to AMR. So there needs to be big balance. And I guess using both data really plays a role because now Vietnam Health Insurance have all electronic claim review system following the system in like Japan and Korea. And also patient record is becoming digitalized, as Dr. Nhung said. So with this data, it will be much better to analyze what is the rational prescription, and then also educating the both. Not only the doctors or healthcare providers have fault, because it's the patient side who ask for more medicine,
Yes.
especially antibiotics. So we need education and movement at both ends that that really actually happened this week. But yeah, that is, I think, will be issues that Vietnam will face because of also other new technology and the therapeutics coming in. And I guess we can really learn from other countries like maybe Japan and so on, which manage, high quality care with some good price
Low cost.
control. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So maybe the last question for your talk from Dr. An. After the COVID-19, how the burden of NCD, is that increasing? And do you think that local health facilities can face or take over this kind of new flow from the community?
Okay, thank you. I think it's very difficult to decrease burden NCD. Like we already have a double, triple burden. I think communicable disease burden could decrease because of the good control system, and then public health efforts is quite strong. But the NCD is really linked to the lifestyle, and as we all developed countries has gone through, you have to reach certain point that the people really become health conscious and change the lifestyle. But Vietnam, I think, is still in the middle of the stage that people enjoy more access to good food, and then staying away from traditional lifestyle. And then we are especially supporting a reduction of excessive intake of alcohol, tobacco. Still, maybe we decrease a little bit. Salt reduction is still quite high, and then physical inactivity is unfortunately increasing. So I think these risk factors and behavior would lead to the biomedical symptom of high blood pressure and high blood glucose and so on. So this will be a problem always come with the development. But again, we are trying to prevent for introducing not only the health promotion behavior, but very early detection. And then early detection and intervention is much cost effective. And then, of course, the less burden for people at the primary healthcare level. So even without waiting for the people to become old, that the introducing education from the school time, for example, and having already many communes are doing kind of regular mass screening of people. So before they become a very later stage of NCD, we try to find it and then also screen and have a intervention so people can manage it with least kind of invasive intervention. So I think this will continue to be a problem, but it's, I think, great that people's awareness could be raised, especially with the COVID-19 as a trigger. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So as all of us know, the positive aspect of COVID-19 is make people recognize more about the NDC. And also you can see on the newspaper that more and more people now aware about the effect of environment pollution. And I would like you to welcome Dr. Dang from the University of Medicine and Pharmacy at Ho Chi Minh City to talk about the association between air pollution and COVID-19, good and the bad. Thank you very much. And thanks, Dr. Takeuchi again for your nice talk.
Okay, thank
Dr.
you.
Dang, please.
Thank you, Dr. Wynn. It's really delighted to be part of today's seminar. And I am Nhung from Department of Environmental Health, University of Medicine and Pharmacy at Ho Chi Minh City. So for today's seminar, in previous presentation, we discussed a lot about the measures and the strategy to cope with COVID-19. But I think of myself, it's also important to think about the strategy to address the risk factors of other NCDs disease that affected by the COVID-19. And air pollution is the one. Because when we understanding how air pollution changed during the COVID-19, it will give us important clues on the health effects, also about the emission controls. So for today's talk, I want to discuss with you about the association between air pollution and COVID-19, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Actually, three angles of the association. And let's move to the outlines. First, I will give some background, in particular about the air pollution level and its health effect in Vietnam. And then I talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly side of the association. Let's see some figure. So according to some database like Air Visual, Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, the two biggest cities in Vietnam, ranks most polluted city in the world. And according to the global burden of disease, air pollution is considered the most significant environmental factor that's called the most burden of disease in Vietnam. And it's estimated that from WHO, each year more than 60,000 deaths, extra deaths linked to the air pollution in Vietnam, which is a very huge number. You know, so far COVID-19, we only have 35 people die, but each year due to air pollution, we have 60,000 deaths linked to the air pollution. That reminds us, we should not only focus on the COVID. I also very agree with Dr. Wynn and other speaker. It's now also the time we should pay attention to all the NCD disease, to all the risk factor that affected by the COVID-19. And let's see some background about the main sources. This figure shows that the main source of air pollution in Ho Chi Minh cities came mostly from the transportation, the red part, and industry and the household came to second, and the small emissions came from biogenic source. Among transportation, motorcycle were the main reason of emission in Ho Chi Minh City, and it's contributing to 90% of the CO, 68% of the organic compounds, 63% of the methane, 41% of the SO2, and 29% of the NOx, and 18% of the particulate matter PM2.5. And for the effect of air pollution on health, it can affect many different stages of our life, ranging from pregnancy woman to newborn baby, to the early childhood, and up to the adult life and the elderly. And it can cause in a pregnancy woman the risk of the reduced growth, and increase the risk of preterm birth and low birth weight. In particularly, the group that most vulnerable to the air pollution effect is the early childhood children group, the group from 0 to 5 age. During that period, if children exposed to the air pollution, it will increase the risk for the decreased lung growth, reduce lung functions, and increase the risk for lower respiratory infections including pneumonia and some effect on the deep developmental effect. And that's not end. When these children become adult, they also increase risk of the chronic respiratory and cardiovascular disease. In Ho Chi Minh, in Vietnam, our group have done several research to provide the evidence about the effect of the air pollution on health. And the paper you see on the slide showing the effect of ozone on the hospital admission for the respiratory disease in Hanoi, Vietnam. And we found that it increases of 10 microgram per meter of ozone is associated with the increases of 6.2% risk of admission for respiratory disease among the children in the winter compared to that of only 1.2% in the summer. This is a quite interesting point to point out because actually ozone is a secondary pollutant, and the concentration of ozone is higher in the summer compared to the winter. But our result indicated that ozone in the winter will induce more risks for hospital admission than compared to the summer. And our just published paper about the PM2.5 and the risks of lower respiratory infection among young children in Ho Chi Minh City. We also found the positive effect of PM2.5 on the hospital admission, and the effect vary between gender, male and female, and between age group, and also the type of the disease. So why children exposed to the PM2.5 are more likely to be infected with the acute bronchiolitis than with the pneumonia. And we also do some modeling, and this is the estimate of the long-term concentration of the main pollutant in Ho Chi Minh City, in which we found that NO2 and PM2.5 always higher than the standard. And PM2.5 were found to be responsible for about more than 100 and 1,000 deaths. Similar, NO2 and SO2 were attributed to 172 and 89 deaths respectively in Ho Chi Minh City. And I want to skip the update of the number of cases. Let's go to the good aspect of the COVID-19, which is represent very clear through this picture. The left picture, the right picture is and the left picture show the same streak before and during the COVID-19. We see an extremely reduction in the transportation activity during the lockdown of the COVID-19 period. And with the reduction in the transportation in the industry activities, we will expect the reduce in the concentration of the air pollutant. And can you guess how many percent we will reduce in the air pollutant? The answer is it depends on the air pollutant. CO is the pollutant main come from the transportation, and it's reduced the most. And according to our data, we collect the data of the 4 stations surrounding and within Ho Chi Minh City. We see that the CO concentration reduced about 60% during the lockdown compared to the before and the after lockdown periods. For the TSB, which means the total suspended particulate, is reduced 17%, and SO2 reduced 14%. NOx decreased 9%. So most the major pollutant decrease during the lockdown. That is very good good sign of the COVID-19. And how about the bad side? So some evidence suggested that air pollution can be considered a core factor in extremely high level of SARS-CoV-2 letalities in the northern Italy. In the paper, the author showed the evidence that the region with high level of concentration also have the level of letalities. And this is blendable because, you know, air pollution can weaken our respiratory system. And the SARS-CoV virus mainly attack to the respiratory. Therefore, it can, when people exposed to the air pollution for the long term, it will increase the vulnerable to the virus infection. And the second reason is because air pollution is the main risk factor for many comorbidities disease of the COVID-19, like the hypertension, like the cardiovascular disease, like the chronic respiratory disease. So based on COVID-19 patient, when exposure to air pollution, it's also increase the risk of letalities. And the second one, air pollution, also there's some accumulate evidence about the association between air pollution and the spread abilities of the COVID-19 in Chinese cities. So you can see on the slide, so in the association between dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and the reproduction number in the city outside the Hebei and in the city inside the Hebei, we see clearly a strong connection between the air pollution and the spread abilities of the COVID-19. And finally, I want to talk about the ugly side of the COVID-19. This figure shows the BM2.5 during the lockdown compared to the before and after lockdown. It's very weird that we're very surprised when we see this result. First, we look at the data of the third party, which is the Palm Air network, include 31 stations within Ho Chi Minh City that measure BM2.5. And the green one is a concentration during the lockdown. You see, during the lockdown, the concentration of BM2.5 is a little bit higher compared to the before and after. Similarly, we look at another third-party data of the USA General Consulate, which is a quite standard station, quite expensive station compared to the Palm Air network, which is a low-cost sensor. And we see very similar pattern in which the concentration of BM2.5 higher during the lockdown compared to the before and after. But we still not believe. Therefore, we decide to measure by ourselves. And we measure 96 stations representative for 24 districts of Ho Chi Minh City, as you can see on the map. And we also show obtain the similar result, higher concentration of BM2.5 compared to the before and after lockdown. So the question why this happened? There are several theories can put on the table, like the effect of the humidities, like the secondary source of the BM2.5 in Ho Chi Minh City. But to be honest, we still do not have the answer yes for this question. That's why I named this part of my presentation at the ugly side of the COVID-19. And for the second part, because I working now in the Innovation Center of the UMB, and during the COVID pandemic, we collaborate with the Universities of Technology in Ho Chi Minh City to create some innovative solution, and I want to share with you today. First, we create a container room for treating COVID-19 patients. And the characteristics of this container room is 100% infection control using the HEPA filter, and it's designed as a Lego game where all the components can easily connect each other, and it's designed as a one-way system. Include many different components like the buffer room for exchange the clothes, and there is the surface disinfection room, the shower room, and the facilities for treating the patient. And one important characteristic of this system is quite cheap, and the material is easy to find in the Vietnamese market. So therefore, just in the worst case, like the third wave of the COVID come to Vietnam, we can easily to do the mass production if needed. And then the second one, we create the so-called the power air purified respirator. Actually, some evidence provide that the BAPR is better to protect the medical staff when treating for the COVID-19 compared to the N95 or surgical mask. However, the price of the market product is very high. So we try to create the new prototype with cost only 1 to 10 compared to the available market product. And we also use some 3D technologies to transform the snorkel mask into the mask using for the NIV, the non-invasive ventilator. And we also create the real ventilator with the Bách Khoa University, as you can see on the video. Yeah, and this is the demo for the UV chamber. This infects the mask for the use. Okay, with that, I want to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your listening, and I'm waiting for your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dang, for presenting interesting data about the correlation between air pollution and the COVID-19, and also introduce interesting innovation for the healthcare worker. And I hope you can bring those products into the market.
Yeah. We are trying our best to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to invite some questions from the floor. Any question for Dr. Dang?
Yeah, can you explain more about the PM 2.5? Do you have any assumption why the PM 2.5 is increased after the COVID-19? Because the vehicle is not too much. So
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ang, for that question. That there are some theories we want to test. The first one, as I explained, we use even we use different source of data. Some data from the third party, some data measured directly by our group. But it seems that on the device using the scatter lighting methods to quantify the PM2.5, and that methods highly affected by the humidity. So when the humidity is high, the sensor will detect as the particulate matter, PM2.5. However, we already checked the humidity data during the lockdown periods. It seemed not high compared to the before and after. So the second theories, I think in Ho Chi Minh cities, PM2.5 came not only from the transportation activities, but it came from the secondary pollution, like ozone. Ozone is a secondary pollutant. You know, it's result from the photochemical reaction in the air, and NO2 plus some other pollutant under the photochemical reaction will result the ozone. And many papers show that during the lockdown, the ozone increased compared to before and after. So I think maybe PM2.5 is a similar case compared to the ozone. But to be honest, so far we don't have the correct answer for that question. That's why we name that part at the ugly, ugly side of the association.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dang. Everybody, I would like to mention that because Dr. Wynn is now in the midnight of, maybe he's not asleep, but I would like to spend some minutes to invite him to deliver some summary or impression about this conference before leaving.
Thank you, Dr. Wee, for inviting me. I learned so much from you guys. I think if one thing I want to tell you, I learned a lot from you. That's why it's midnight here, but I still want to learn more. But I think the overall thing that I learned today, and I think everyone may agree, is the fighting with COVID-19. It's a multifactorial with many aspects. But I really want to emphasize that this COVID-19 will be over. But we need to go back to taking care of our chronic problems. I told my resident again and again, we have so many chronic problems around, and controlling diabetes, lung problems, cancer, many other diseases will have a very positive impact on how we control COVID-19, COVID-20, COVID-25, or whatever number you want in the future. All right. Thank you very much. And it's my pleasure to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And please follow Dr. Wynn on his YouTube every Saturday, maybe Friday in the US. And I'm looking forward to learn more from you and your colleague. Thank you very much, Dr. Wynn.
Thank you, Dr. Wynn. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to continue the conference with comment from Dr. Nhung from Hanoi. If it's possible, please give us some summary about what we should learn from the strategy dealing with COVID-19 in many areas in the world.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think this is very useful. Even the participant directly here is not so many, but we have a streamline so people can see back later. I think contents of our meeting today is useful for many people. We see that firstly, we can agree that the COVID-19 is a problem. But now we learn from Japan, from America, and say it's a different figure of epidemic, different approach, and different outcome. That is, we understand. So we now understand more the nature of the epidemic, and at least we know how to address, or let's say, to do with this. And of course, it's differently. based on the many aspects, as Dr. Wynn already mentioned. So here, I think Dr. Wynn already left, but America have a 4 challenge. But I can compare it in Vietnam. For example, no public confidence in government in Vietnam very high. That is the good. The poor coordination between the state and the federal. I think in Vietnam, I think that is good. And Japan acting is I think in the middle is the role of the government. We not classify, but we can think about this. So I think 3 things very important. The first, public confidence is most important to do with the mass activity in the population. The second is a comprehensive coordination and collaboration in emergency situation. It's very important for us as well. And number 3 is, I think it's true for every country, accessibility for the healthcare of the people. That is important. Even healthcare system is different, but accessibility for the people is very important, especially in the emergency situation. So that is COVID-19 teach us many things. The second thing I would like to learn from one of the speaker. We see the COVID-19 is disaster. But of course, we do not, all of us do not want to this happen, but it's happened. We need to face directly with the COVID-19. So now we see and to face it and fight this positively. This is, I would like to be. So we need to set up the new normal safety. And in other words, we call the save existing enemies that we learn about. So we can see here some positive. Number 1 is communicable disease prevention is increased capacity in Vietnam. I think in other countries might be the same. TB, for example, we are from March, we also have slogan, turn the COVID-19 disaster or the threat becomes the opportunity to end tuberculosis. That is working for TB, is working. As we see the compensation of the TB detection at the moment is very high. And the second, USC, we see the increase. Health system strengthening, we can see hospital, community health posts for the provincial and district. We see that increase medical equipment and the capacity of the health staff, intensive care, we learn. So that is useful for the later, for the health system. Coordination and collaboration is better in the health system. Dr. Momoe can see in the Vietnam, we see the system better. And the health system has better recognition by the government. That is very, very clearly, and have better recognition of the community. And you will see the improve in the high quality of care. The higher, I mean the higher, compared to the before COVID-19. But of course, by doing that, the non-communicable disease care is increased. I mean the quality and the number of people of the care, because the capacity system higher. And number 3 is the better for the positive changing that are digitalized in health. In my hospital is changing very, very fast. All of this to be digitalized. And that is the meaning of the positive changing. That means something we already intend to do previously, but now COVID-19 to force people to do faster, more effectively. That is also the benefit from this lesson learned. And we know that many questions is still, why is America is still in the flood of COVID-19? Why is Japanese very big economy in the world, but the COVID-19 is still, and Vietnam it's not very big, and economy is an income country, but we see that the GDP is still positive, it's still increase, and we invest a lot of the COVID-19, so that the balance of COVID-19 control with the cost become the question of the Dr. Quý. For example, my hospital, we invest on that. Any people working on screening, we pay additionality with the 150,000 Vietnam dong per day by law. We're happy to do that because this protect the whole hospital, protect all the patient of our with the morbidity of the lung disease. So if only one disaster happen, we can collapse on the hospital. That is, I think, the price of the many other country. Other country follow pursuits of the economy development, but COVID-19 is come in the prevent the development. That is the lesson we apply. And many questions of the air pollution. Thank you very much, Dr. Dang. You raise many things we think we cannot explain, like PM 2.5 is an increase. When the lockdown is, we cannot explain why. And you also have a question, you measure this, you sell the cell, but it's not yet. But we see that have many information can analyze. Of course, that is the impact to the disease, impact to the policy for the prevention, and so on. So I think time is up. Thank you, Dr. Quý, for excellent chairing of this session. Thank you all the speakers, Dr. Momoe, Dr. Dang, Dr. An for coordination, and Dr. Wynn already left. So I would say that excellent meeting. Thank you very much. Dr. Quý, say something.
Yes, thank you very much, and I'm happy to work with you on this conference and have a first chance to meet Dr. Takeuchi, who is very famous in Vietnam for the preventive care. I would like to learn more from you, and only one comment I would like to ask that may make this conference more fruitful is that I would like to express that the aggressive screening and quarantine in Vietnam may associated with misunderstanding or discrimination in the first wave, and maybe some stress and fear to the community. But actually we overcome that, and we deal with this side effect with the transparency and education, the people, the community. And I think that this problem also teach us how to deal with the NCD and how to learn with the beautiful environment in the future. And I hope that our organization can collaborate with each other to proceed the preventive medicine in Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and keep in touch.
Okay, keep in touch.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Keep good health and see you.
Yeah, we are from the organizing committee. We are very happy to have a session with you, and after the meeting we will do on the back the stage to have a better fruitful
good
scene and videos to share with everybody. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Quý. Bye-bye.